And the story is, of course, the Water Summit and that story for Makueni as well. And a lot of issues that we're going to be discussing here also acts as a segue to our discussion this morning with our panelists. We have the Governor of Vihiga County, Dr. Wilbur Ottichilo. Also, we do have the Governor of Makueni. This is Professor Kivutha Kibwana. We have the Governor of Laikipia as well. That is Ndiritu Muriithi, to take us through what they know about the counties and what is happening within the counties as well. So we ask you to contribute. You can share, ask questions also. You can head over to a Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505 our SMS portal. Let's get to discussing this morning with our panelists. And of course, we want to hear, first of all, what is a big crisis in this country? And we know even in South Africa, they were projecting that the beginning of April, it should be day zero, right? And now they've pushed that to June. We want to hear from you, especially with the Water Summit that you were in, Dr. Ottichilo, yesterday, and this was a gathering of the committees amongst the governors. Tell us more about what is the current situation.
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be on this show this morning.
Thank you.
The summit that started yesterday and is ongoing up to today,
yes,
brings all the stakeholders in the water sector together in this country, including the development partners. Mm-hmm. And the main purpose of the summit was to do an evaluation how we have been able to implement our programs in water as regards to both the two governments, the county and the national government. Mm-hmm. According to the Constitution, water is a sector that actually is managed jointly by both the county government and the national government. The national government is in charge of the management of water resources, particularly as regards to policy and legislation, and ensuring that water, being a very essential commodity, yes, is available to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So the problem that we have had is that because it's a shared responsibility, yes, there has been friction and conflict on who does what. And what has come out is that the national government appear to have muscled the county governments by taking all the functions to themselves, and the county governments have been left completely without doing much. Mm-hmm. And yet the county governments, they are the ones who interact with the people on a daily basis. Yes. And the people, when they are asking for provision of water, mm-hmm, the first person they go to is the governor and his government system. So the idea here was, how do we come up together to operationalize Article 6 of the Constitution, which says that, yes, we are two governments, we are distinct, but we depend on each other. And therefore, we must come up with a coordination framework on how to manage water resources in this country. And the counties must be given more power, particularly on external resources. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that is not really happening on the ground right now. Professor Kivutha Kibwana, as far as water is concerned, is critical. And of course, you should have maybe an upper hand or an even keel when it comes to water resource.
I think as far as the counties are concerned, because we understand the needs, the water needs of people, mm-hmm, because of the proximity that we have to them, I think it is essential that when it comes to implementation, yes, we have a critical role. And of course, to do good implementation, it is necessary that the requisite funds will be available, especially from the national government in terms of doing the bigger projects that make sense, and then supervising them from the county perspective because of the nearness that we have to those particular projects. Unfortunately, we don't get the resources that will help us to do the function that falls to us according to Schedule 4 of the Constitution. And I think this push and pull between the national government and the county governments in terms of who will implement those projects. Because of course, when you do important work in water,
yes, you
get a lot of support from the people. And so the national government wants to do that, the county government wants to do that. So there's that kind of push and pull. And for me, if the country really addressed the question of water and food sufficiently, in light of the climate change problems that we have, that would be a defining thing in terms of our development. And so I think the focus that is required has come through the summit is really a focus for both the national government, the county governments, to focus on water and food security to the extent that within the next 4 years there will be a major change as far as our development is concerned.
All right, let's hear from Ndiritu Muriithi.
Well, I think the failure of national institutions to do to carry out their responsibility in a timely manner, in many instances has made the challenge worse. And I think if you look at protection of water towers, Mount Kenya, Aberdare,
yes,
Elgon, Malmanet Forest Complex, and so on. So it's only recently, for example, that we were able to persuade national government institutions to protect Lake Orborosat, which is the main source of the Wasonyiro. And all the counties of Laikipia, Samburu, Isiolo, Wajir depend on this one river. Now, Lake Orborosat is in Nyandarua. The water that collects at Lake Orborosat comes from the Aberdare. So the encroachment of this lake has made that resource, has reduced that resource very significantly. And only recently have we been able to persuade the National Land Commission, for example, and other institutions which should stop people from encroaching into the lake. If you look at Malmanet Forest Complex,
yes,
a similar case. Now, many rivers that flow into Baringo,
yes,
come from this forest complex, and 10,000 hectares of this forest destroyed by land grabbers, and we are not yet seeing action, even from the newly formed water towers protection agency. So that failure makes the problem bigger. On the financing side, and I agree with Professor Kibwana, the national institutions also take a long time.
Yes.
I'll give you an example from my own county, Nyanyuki Dam. We've been talking about this for 10 years. Is it a PPP? Are we going to do an EPC contract, and so on and so on?
Yes.
And we are no closer to concluding this piece of it. Yet, we are quite capable as a county government of organizing and executing finance and construction of this key bulk water storage for Nyanyuki and for the greater part of eastern Laikipia. But so that slow, ponderous, very bureaucratic, from many significant government institutions, then we are held a little bit at ransom because we have to wait for these institutions to carry out their responsibility.
Thank you. All right. And of course, I know you have a lot to discuss this morning. We just want to carry on with the program, because also we want also to take a break at 7 o'clock. I will want you now to go to the lectern and just speak to Kenyans and tell Kenyans what the government of Laikipia County has been doing so far. What is your strategic plan as far as the 5 years are concerned as well? What are some of the challenges? We know that you had also challenges with the county boards as far as taking office is concerned. And so you'll tell us more about that this morning as well. And maybe I can just tell you also a bit of Governor of Laikipia. This is Ndiritu Muriithi. Of course, he is a seasoned economist and financial markets expert with over 24 years experience in leadership and management with diverse settings in Kenya, South Africa, Canada, and Australia. and also an accomplished practitioner in the African financial markets. He has spearheaded numerous financial market strengthening initiatives across Africa or African countries, covering establishment of credit sharing and scoring institutions, improved board market functions, expansion of mortgage markets, and even growth of women-owned enterprises. He also led peace caravans across 32 districts that substantially reduced conflicts between communities in Laikipia, Samburu, Isiolo, Tana River, and Migori, among other counties, for the period between 2009 and 2012. Governor, you have 5 minutes beginning now.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and good morning, Kenyans. I think speaking to the question of devolution, and for me, and I'm certain for many governors who are on their first term, one of the key things we have encountered is a very low capacity in key institutions that are expected to perform various functions. One example I could give you are the public service boards. Now, many of these institutions have very shallow capacity in terms of HR management and the capacity to build professional public services. Now, the reason this is important is that the public service is the delivery mechanism. Now, a political leader comes to office on the basis of a promise. You go to citizens with a manifesto and request citizens to elect you so that you might therefore deliver on this manifesto or this promise. The way you do that, you will have a program of work. You will also need to do a lot of legislative work in order to ensure that the things that you've promised citizens, whether it is water that we've been talking about or the creation of jobs, are carried out. But you, as the individual leader, your job, in fact, is to inspire and motivate a large group of people who are in the public service. In Laikipia, there is 1,869 such individuals. But your key instrument to do so is a public service board. Now, woe unto you if you should find that they have no idea what they're doing, as is the case in many counties. And that is what I personally faced. So you have a board, for example, issuing contracts to staff of the outgoing governor that run into this year and into next year, so that you are unable to appoint other officers into these offices because there are people already appointed, frankly, in gross violation of what the Constitution anticipates. So that's on the challenge side, capacity of our institutions to be able to transition from one regime to the next, our ability to have a professional public service that is able to execute the program of the day, the program of the leadership of the day that has a mandate. So that's on the challenge side. But I think that leadership is about getting ordinary people to do extraordinary things. So be that as it may, what are we doing in Laikipia? 5 quick things I want to point out. First thing is getting every household to have health insurance. Now, a very straightforward thing, but if you live in my neck of the woods, you know that 30 to 40% of household income is spent on health. And in many instances, they suffer catastrophic financial loss when somebody has fallen sick. So we have been going door to door. In the last month and a half, we have visited 50,000 households. This is now, county government staff. We have an application on the telephone that our staff use to register people into NHIF. And so far, we have persuaded 19,200 households to get registered onto NHIF and to pay for themselves 500 shillings per month. And we consider this a key and significant thing for us. All our community health workers are on it. We are soon onboarding the traditional birth attendants so that there's a concerted effort. And our intention is that the entire 110,000 households should be on health insurance. Alongside that, Kilimo Faida. Kilimo Faida is moving. We've been talking to citizens that farming is a business. But look, it has to be a profitable business. So we are talking about kilimo faida. And our key instrument there is contract farming. So that when the farmer is planting sorghum or canola or millet, they are planting because they have a customer and the price at which they shall sell the produce is known. Therefore, the farmer's job becomes to manage the costs and the input side to ensure that this is profitable. And again, we have many of Kenya's leading corporates, East African breweries, Bidco, and so on, coming out and signing with hundreds and thousands of farmers for them to produce. We are engaged in ensuring that Laikipia North, which historically has lagged behind, particularly in educational attainment, is at least equalized, if not doing better than the rest of Laikipia. And to this end, we've persuaded the Ministry of Education that we must build 33 new secondary schools in the area of Laikipia North, and we have embarked on this effort. On the question of infrastructure, Laikipia is a key instrument. And going back to the question we spoke to earlier on water, now infrastructure, for example, inter-county connectivity is Kenha and Kera. So there's a whole lot of persuasion we have to do. For example, my colleagues and I from the Amaya Triangle Initiative, this is Isiolo, Samburu and Baringo, we've been trying to persuade Transport Minister to improve one specific road from Isiolo through Wamba, through Kisima, to Mugie, to Tangle Bay, to Roruk, which is a main road that can open up these 4 counties. And since my time is up, I want to thank Kenyans for listening to us and to say that I have every faith myself in devolution, and we must do everything possible to ensure that devolution works. I thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. And of course, we shall be drilling deep and looking at what some of the salient points he's actually raised, I should say, from his speech this morning. And you have also an opportunity to call and ask questions and share your contributions as well. Professional or professional public service is talking about low capacities within the counties. Transition question has been also a big worry when it is coming from one government to the other. We've seen a lot of hiccups on that as well, and we know also there was a bill that was fronted by Senator Kimani Wamatangi. That was the ascension the assumption of office bill, the governor's office bill, which never saw the light of day. We shall still follow on that. That was in the last parliament. So what does it portend when it comes to the transitional period, where we know a lot of funds are not really accounted for, bills are not really paid, and all these is saddled on the incoming government as well. And of course, we shall hear from him this morning to give us more of what he's doing in Makueni. Professor, you have 5 minutes beginning now.
Thank you, and good morning, Kenya. One of the things that we really have wanted to focus on in Makueni is wealth creation. How do we ensure that our population of about 165,000 households and 1 million people access sustainable livelihoods? And this is not something that usually is talked a lot about. Maybe people know about other things that we do. And we have, for example, said, how do you help women to market their produce to trade? And at that end, we we construct market sheds in the major towns, and even some rural towns. We also have livestock yards, which are very critical in terms of, because in our county people have a lot of livestock, so we make sure that there are those livestock yards so that people can apply their livestock trade. We have about 15,000 hawkers in our county, and we have helped them in terms of even buying lorries for them so that they can transport goods from one market to the other. We have helped them to form a cooperative, Indeed, our cooperative movement is quite strong in terms of in the farming community, in the hawking community, in the youth community. We give loans, loans we call Tetheka loans, at an administrative cost of 3%. And these loans are to groups and individuals. And so far, we have disbursed over 124 million shillings, and they are, of course, repayable, so that we have a revolving fund. We are in the process of completing the establishment of a bank, of a microfinance, which we call Ndiritu Microfinance. Indeed, people from Makueni have contributed 62 million as of now, so that apart from what the government has contributed, they can be co-owners of this bank, and we are now awaiting permission from the central bank, because we have done all the things that we were asked, and we hope with time this bank will also operate in Kitui and in Machakos. That is the economic block that we share, which is called SECEP. In terms of agriculture, we have tried very much to help farmers in terms of we have a plant for fruits at Kalamba, which cost about $500 million, and already we are now buying especially mangoes from farmers, and now the 3 shillings they used to get for a kilo, now they can get over 10 shillings up to 15. And again, we are also into the milk, so that our farmers can bring their milk to a plant in Kikima, another one which is being constructed at Kadhonzweni. So that again, we focus on value chain development. So we are focusing on not just offering services like the health insurance that we offer when people pay only 500 shillings and 65 and below, and each household after paying 500 shillings per year gets free medical attention within our county. And in actual fact, we found 109 medical or health institutions, and we have pushed that to 232 and another one of the 233rd, which is being constructed. Because before we did the health insurance from the county, we wanted first of all to make sure that we have facilities, and so we have those facilities. We build theaters. We have now the facility that the national government helped us with of dialysis, which is now beginning to operate. We have a trauma center that we are completing. We have a mother and child hospital, a new one, which will take 200 patients, and it's a referral one for the region. And indeed, we are working with the Vision 2030 to Secretariat to do medical tourism within our county. There are, of course, challenges, and I think Ndiritu, His Excellency Ndiritu, did mention about capacities. We have 3,500 workers, and they are from the local authorities, from the national government, and the new ones. And we are trying to get those ones to gel and for a work ethic to develop so that it is easier to do work. We want also to begin a public contracting system where everything about contracting is put on the table, and anybody can know how much was a contract, who got it, and so on, so that we enhance transparency. We have a very good now county assembly. Before, we had a problem with our county assembly. We have a very good one now, and they don't constrain the work. And finally, I think that some of the money that is not coming into the counties now, part of it is the economic problem because of our 1 year of being in elections. And perhaps it means that we should now really as a country look at, do we say that our elections are over and then we get into economic development so that we can help our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Professor Kivutha Kibwana there. And of course, a raft of issues he's raised that we're going to pick up and discuss them as well on wealth creation, first of all, women market trade or livestock yards as well. And issue of universal healthcare also is big in Makueni County. We'll want to know how they're actually panning out this particular system as well. You talked of SECEB, the economic blocks. You'll tell us more about that. The fruit plant that they do have also down in the county, and medical tourism, amongst others. These are issues that we're going to discuss with His Excellency as well. And of course, we do have with us Dr. Wilbur Ottichilo, who is the governor of Vihiga. He's prior to being elected as the governor for Vihiga in 2017, was a member of Parliament of Muhaya for 10 good years. From 2008 to 2017, also before joining politics, he worked for many organizations, including Government of Kenya, KWS, UN, that is FAO, Food Agricultural Organization, and also Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development. And of course, we're going to hear from him as well this morning on what he's doing in the county of Vihiga, and him also being the member of the Committee of Water within the Council of Governors as well. You have 5 minutes, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Good morning, Kenyans. I want to say from the onset, devolution is the best thing that happened for Kenya. And if we can implement devolution to the letter, as per the Constitution and as per the County Government Act and other associated legislation, this country is going to move forward very fast. And I can estimate that in the next 10 to 20 years, we will be a developed country. The first implementation of devolution has had a lot of challenges, and this is expected. But I believe as second-generation governors, we are going to improve better than what our predecessors did. In Vihiga, when I assumed the leadership of governor, I faced a number of problems. The major problems were lack of a clear, effective, and efficient governance structure. What I found is that it's a sort of disorganized type of structure with very, very limited capacity. So it was not possible even to carry out my activities because of capacity, as my good friend Mr. Ndiritu indicated. So one of the first things I have been doing the last 6 months is to come up with a governance structure that is lean and efficient. Currently now we have a bloated staff, which we have to find a way on how to reduce it. Also, I found the problem of a big wage bill, which was incurred not in a very professional manner, and therefore is a problem we are grappling with. But with time, we'll be able to do it. The other problem is the remission of money from Treasury. For the last amount of money we received was actually somewhere in November. And to date, we have not yet received money. So we have been grappling with a lot of problems, and the little money we get only ends up in paying salaries. And some of the recurrent activities, we are unable to do it. However, we are very optimistic that now that politics behind us, things are going to improve this year. Despite of all those challenges, I have been able to do a number of things as a governor. And the first thing I've been able to do is to coordinate the preparation of CIDP, County Integrated Development Plan, because this is now going to be my barometer, is my direction, my compass. So I have been able to prepare. The CIDP is already with the county assembly. Equally, I have been able to prepare the county fiscal strategy paper, which is required for us to prepare the budget, the coming budget for 2018-2019. So on the structural side, I can say I am on course. Also, I have been able to do a number of things, particularly on health. When I took up the leadership, I found out that most of our health facilities had never received drugs since 2014. So basically they were there, but no drugs, no nothing. So actually they were moribund, they were non-functional. Within the period I've been around, I've been able to strike a memorandum of an MOU with the KEMSA, Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, and we entered agreement where now they started supplying us drugs. So from last year, October, they have been supplying us drugs, and I'm happy to say that now all our health facilities in Vihiga County are receiving drugs, and people are very happy. We have even improved the staff strength in various health facilities which had actually collapsed and closed down. On the issue of water, we found a lot of stalled projects that were started but they were never completed. We have conducted the contractors who are involved, and now we are in the process of now completing the stalled water projects. And one of the key projects that we will be working on is the Belgium-funded project, which is a project by the national government, which is a 1.7 billion project, which is going to improve water supply in the entire county, and about 300,000 people will benefit. On agriculture, we are in the process of entering an MOU with EPZ so that we can construct industrial park in Kaimosi to be able to process most of the crops. We have a lot of fruits, particularly avocados, which actually just go to waste. So we are in the process of doing that. Also recently, just 3 weeks ago, we engaged with the Ministry of Mining and Petroleum, and we are in the process now of preparing to start a factory, granite factory. Vihiga is endowed with a lot of granites, and for many years people have been asking, what do we do with these stones? Now we have engaged with the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining, and already they have advertised a consultancy to come up with a feasibility study which will then culminate in the construction of a factory. I have also engaged companies from Australia. I met them just 2 weeks ago, and they are interested in this factory so that people of Vihiga can make use of the stones. On the road infrastructure, I'm happy to say that we are working together with the Kenya Roads Board. They have been able to give us some money, and we have identified very important roads in the county, which, as I'm talking now, the roads are now being rehabilitated so that they can be motorable before the long rains come. And finally, on security, we are working with the national government to ensure that the security in the county is upheld. And in this regard, we have agreed as a county even to provide a toll-free number to people of Vihiga so that they can call in to the security any time of the day and night when there is any security issues. So we have provided a toll-free number which is available to anybody, anytime, can be used. Thank you very much. I'm confident devolution is going to work.
All right. Dr. Wilbur Ottichilo is confident that, of course, is confident that devolution is going to work. Challenges from the first implementers of devolution and now the second generation governors as well. They are actually ironing out the kinks and, of course, the wrinkles that are on the way. And this is what we're discussing this morning with our panelists here, the excellencies from different counties as well. Remember, you can now chime in, you can call in, ask questions or share your contributions. Also, you can head over to our Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505 is our SMS portal as well. Now we want to drill deeper to some of the salient points that they've raised. And of course, if you think maybe you have a question and you want to ask the governors, they're here, and this is your forum to actually engage with the governors as well. Right. We just want to hear from Governor Muriithi, because you're first on the podium. Yes, you talked about transition, and the transition question also is a niggling worry for you. And we remember 2 weeks ago, if we may look at the county news, this was in February 2013. If director may just pick up on that. It says board bosses locked out in raging row with governor. There you go. Protesters blocked the team from stepping into their offices amid accusations of incompetence. the row between Laikipia Governor Ndiritu Muriithi and the County Public Service Board escalated. That was some 2 weeks ago when demonstrators blocked the board chiefs from accessing their office. So how did you get out of this morass? And this is, of course, the transition question that you're talking about.
Yes.
They seem not to be a very seamless transitioning from, you know, the incoming governor and the outgoing. And then you're left maybe sometimes with some, you know, skunks, holding some skunks, like a bloated wage bill, bloated stuff, yeah?
Look, if I could try and summarize very quickly. On the pending bill side, I inherited 1.1 billion worth of pending bills, out of which only about half were supported in any way, fashion or shape,
yes,
by documentation. So out of those half, we have audited or done, you know, an audit review of approximately 70% of them, and we've discovered something in the order of 23 ghost projects, meaning that you have been presented with a bill that we build a market over here, or we build a kiosk, or we build a shed, and when you go to check, it actually does not exist. Now, on the issue of this board, you know, the process for their removal is ongoing, because the county assembly is seized of a petition and are probing this board with a view to asking them to step away from office for some very simple reasons or straightforward reasons. But as I said, the key question is actually lack of capacity.
Yes.
For example, this board has been in place for 5 years. There has never been performance appraisal of staff. Now, when I go around meeting public sector staff, they tell me, look, we have a problem because we don't know how people are promoted. People are promoted on favoritism, or as they say, some of the folks in that side of Kenya, kemenyano, you know, so favoritism. So that look, I have been working in the public service for 15 or 10 years or 18 years. I have never been promoted. And it is true. So when I asked the board, why wouldn't you do this very basic tool of HR management, they say that, you know, they'll give you one excuse or another. The structure, as Dr. Ottichilo is telling you, I have a very interesting structure. Many jobs have 2 people in them. Okay? So you have a director of veterinary services and a county director of veterinary services. You have a director of agriculture and a county director of agriculture. When I asked the board, what really is the matter? Why would you do this sort of primitive, you know, it's not even management. So they will give you one excuse or another. Our public service is about to retire. The bulk of it, 25% of the people in the Laikipia public service are between the ages of 56 and 60. Meaning, in the next 2 or 3 years, many of them will be retiring from active service. Yes. So you'll be left with a gap. You already have problems with execution, and the bulk of the service, or a significant portion, 25%, is on the last 4 years of their service, and you have no plan whatsoever on what you will do. So you will find that in 3 years' time, for example, we'll have a nursing crisis because many nurses are in that age set, and so on and so on. So you ask this board, tell us what you're doing about this particular question, and it is news to them. So these are the questions of capacity we are talking about. But I think it went to how devolution started, yes, and in some ways, how devolution is also continuing. That local village politics and issues, or even national politics, get in the way of putting competent people into place. It is my conviction that politics is not an invitation to mediocrity. Okay. It is in fact an invitation for us to manage at a very high standard. So what local guys, and of course citizens get angry because citizens are not foolish. They can see what is going on. So, you know, when I made an address to the assembly and laid out the issues, many citizens took to the streets. And we had to plead with citizens to let the legal process take its place. But citizens are quite angry that a group of very, very highly paid, let me tell you, in the counties, not many people are paid 300,000 a month. This board of 7 people, they sit in offices, they are paid 300,000, each of them, plus allowances, and they cannot deliver a simple staff appraisal. Citizens are angry.
All right, so what will be the prime solution? If maybe we're talking about incompetency, yeah?
It is a solution that I have been promoting all along. As I said, being in politics is not an invitation to mediocrity. So if you look at, for example, how I recruited my ministers, I had a HR firm help me to look. Because yes, I have political imperatives to balance, but I must promote competency. That's what we need to do, not just in the political class, but especially, especially in the
let's say from Professor, from also how has been transitioned for you, because I know this is your second term, so this is not really of a challenge. But of course, we know that from the beginning, you had your own issues also with the MCAs. And we saw Professor MCAs, they are actually having a very protracted row that, you know, almost your county came to a standstill because of a very, very frosty relationship with the MCAs as well. We want to know, first of all, and this second length of time that you have as a governor, has that been sorted out? Do we have a clear, you know, working relationship with the MCAs as well? So what is the way forward? Because we can see, yes, right now you have actually exceeded yourself as far as the budgets are concerned. 33% of what the government has done, you've actually overplayed your hand on this, and various projects you've told us about it. But we want to know the transition bit. How has it been for you?
I think, strictly speaking, there are two transitions. For us who were governors first time, there was the transition from the centralized government to now devolution. And indeed there are still outstanding issues. Yes. Because we are not able to like ask ourselves how much does each of these functions cost, so that we could be able to say, therefore, if a county government is doing agriculture, it's doing health, and so on and so forth, how much do those functions cost, so that the money that comes to us is commensurate with those particular functions. That has been one of the most difficult issues up to now, so that we get money which is not enough to do the functions that the Constitution gives us. Then there was, of course, the transition question of harmonizing employees who are from the local authorities, from the national government, who were seconded, and even who came completely to the county governments, and then the new staff. That has been a problem of all those gelling. But coming to now the second transition, I'm lucky because through courtesy of the people, by re-electing me, I succeeded myself. But initially, we really had a very, very traumatic experience with the county assembly, because by law, there are things that they do, just like the National Assembly, which they must do, and they are very powerful. Like when they approve your budget, when they approve the people the senior people that you will employ, and many other functions. So for me, they said I must give them 1 billion shillings every year, so that they can now approve my budgets and approve my bills and so on and so forth. So I said no. Actually, Treasury has recommended 187 million shillings. Yes. So you can't ask for 1 billion, and they insisted. And for like one particular year, for 8 months, they were not able to approve the budget. So I couldn't do any development work. And the citizens said that this is just too bad. They have to sort us out, and they wanted to dissolve the government. And actually, they went a long way towards that. And the president said, if this happens, many counties will do the same thing, and devolution will be constrained. But fortunately, and now we have a different situation, because that time it went even to, I was almost killed at the precinct of the assembly. So now only one person came back because the citizens swore that they were not going to have any of those guys except one person.
Yes.
And so we have a new group. It's a very positive group, and we are working very well together. They are oversighting us.
Yes.
Because I would not like not to be oversighted. Unfortunately for us, our county public service board is a very, very high standard. And indeed, they maintain their independence. They tell us that there are things that they will do, there are things that we shall do. And this is exceptional. And perhaps it's because of how they were recruited and also the quality of the leadership. So we can't complain there.
All right. So we had Dr. Ottichilo, and I think also we'll throw it to Professor Kibwana and Ndiritu Muriithi as well. The issue of clear governance structures. I think these are some of the challenges maybe you faced as a governor when you're transitioning as well from the previous regime. Also bloated wage bill. You can give us your experiences very, very briefly.
Thank you. I think the biggest problem I faced when I got into the office on 21st of August was that I entered into an office that was empty. There was no handing over, and there was no system. So I had to discover what system is there. And given that the people who were in the system were the people of the previous regime, they didn't give me the chance to know what was going on. So I had to spend 2 months of discovery. And when I found out I couldn't discover much, I had to embark on looking at how to put up a structure. And I have been able to put up now a structure. In fact, I reached a level where now I had to approach the Directorate of Personnel in the Office of the President to come to my rescue, because I tried, I failed. And so we have been working with the Directorate of Personnel in the Office of the President to help me put a structure that is lean and efficient, and help me now define jobs for various sectors. And then after definition of jobs is now when the next level I'm heading to now, I'm actually receiving that report most likely next week. And so after I get the report, I want to table it in the county assembly. Once it is approved, then I'll now implement it. And in the implementation, I reckon that we will have to have quite a number of people exiting the system. Because according to the Transitional Authority, Vihiga is a very small county. We are supposed to have a staff strength of 1,320. But currently now we have more than 4,000.
More than 4,000?
More than 4,000. So you can see that once we implement the structure, it's going to be something we will have to have quite a number of people exiting. But we will have to find out a system, a legal system on how to do that. So that has been my biggest challenge. But I can also say that I have had also to, within the system, I have been able to identify some good people. Incidentally, the good people whom they recruited and found they wanted to work in a more efficient and professional manner, they were shunned away. In fact, I got a lady who is one of the best fiscal planners in this country. She was recruited to be in charge of lands and fiscal planning. When she wanted to do things properly, she was removed and taken to medical. I have even now in finance, pharmacists who are recruited.
Pharmacists in finance?
Yes, in finance. So what is a pharmacist doing in finance? I have environment experts in procurement. So I have been able to transact, once I found out a few of those good people, I have now brought them in their respective places. Exactly. And now those are the people now I've been able to work with to come up with a new CIDP. Right. So this has been the problem. Then the issue of pending bills. The pending bills. As my colleagues, particularly Muriithi has said, we found out that most of those projects were ghost projects. In fact, in Vihiga, we have over 2 billion shillings of pending bills. But When we go on the ground, we don't see the projects.
We don't see the projects.
On paper, they have been completed. But we go on the ground, they are nowhere to be found.
Okay. Now that you are actually your current governors, and you know that these challenges are there, and I mentioned the assumption of a governor's office bill as well, that I think for right now is accumulating dust because, yeah, we have now the current second Senate, and that was in the first Senate. I don't know if still Wamatang is there, maybe you can try and push that particular. Do you think the assumption of governor's office bill, or there should be a structure around the assumption of office to aid you, not really grope in the dark like what Dr. Ottichilo went through? And you as a current governor, how can you work around that? That you know, yes, maybe after your 2 terms you're done, then we know that another person is coming in. There can be a smooth handover, not just walking into an empty office, no structures at all, but there is a good proper structure of now you gelling in with the new system.
The having a law certainly can be of help.
Having a law.
Having a law certainly would be of help. But I also think that we as leaders and sensible human beings,
yes,
we should do the right thing. Because, you know, the points that Dr. Ottichilo is telling you, these are true. We have people placed in the wrong, I mean, you're not using their talent. You're not using their competence fully by placing them in the wrong docket. So that does not require a law. That requires you to be a reasonable manager, to be a reasonable leader, and to want to achieve progress for your county. So I think that we, as a second generation of governors, it is incumbent upon us to run our counties to much higher standards than perhaps were done previously. Finally, you know, when we say structures, you know, let me just drill down into that for a moment, yes, so that perhaps our viewers can understand what we are pushing here. If, as a county, I mean, take all of us have stood on the lantern and said, these are our objectives, this is what we're trying to achieve.
Yes.
Professor Kibwana has said, look, wealth creation. And therefore, if you drill down to the person working somewhere in Wote as a public servant, how is that work contributing to that goal?
Yes.
And therefore, the daily ways in which people work, whether they're in Sipiri or Ronyek or Doldol, the daily things that they do, you want those things to contribute to the overall goal of developing Laikipia.
Yes.
We have set ourselves a target, for example, $6 per person per day. That's what we want household income to be by the time in 5 years' time. So every person working for us, we must be able to link what they do on a daily basis with the goal of achieving $6 per person per day. Now, the reason you have a board, and this board created by the Constitution, is to provide you with a mechanism for ensuring that that is happening. So that, for example, staff should have work plans.
Yes.
That say, this, when I get up and go to work, this is what I do. And this is how it is measured. Now, our own board, you know, we said to them, okay, what is your work plan? And they gave us a very nice work plan where they proposed to measure how many meetings they have.
Yes. That is a work plan.
That is their work plan. How many meetings are they? And they propose that they must meet once a week, and that their subcommittees must also meet once a week. That is their key. That is how they are going to contribute.
Okay.
To ensuring that every Laikipian is earning a minimum of $6 per day. I mean, come on. So this is what we are talking about, structures. But having said all this, Debarl, I want to end this point on a positive note.
Yes.
You see, last month we built 150 kilometers of Maram roads.
Yes.
In about 20 days. As I'm telling you now, every day we are registering 300-400 new households into NHIF.
Yes.
We have nearly 5,000 farmers already contracted out to grow crops on contract farming at specific prices for their yield. So things are happening. As we speak, you know, we are in the middle of, as I said, 33 new secondary schools.
Yes.
In Ronyek, in Arjijo, in Letiti, in Orgirgir. So you can see the promise and the potential of devolution at work. All we need to do is make sure that we up the game in terms of how we manage this thing, and I tell you, Kenya is better for it.
Thank you. And I think also across the board we need to talk about, unless you have anything to ask just before I ask that question. Yes, please.
I think one of the problems why we have problems of organizational structure within the counties is when the constitution was passed, for the national government, the constitution said that certain laws, policies and laws had to be, actually laws first, had to be passed within set time frames so that they could actually facilitate the organizational structure of the national government in view of the new institutions that had been brought into place. And actually, if Parliament didn't pass these laws within that time, Parliament could be dissolved. Unless they ask for more time to do so. But for the county governments, there wasn't a similar provision to say that certain laws should be passed to give us structure. And so each county is struggling on its own, so that many of our counties, you find that there isn't the requisite policy framework, there isn't the requisite legal framework. And I think Senate or even the county assemblies themselves should give us time frame so that if you're doing things in health, what is the law? If you're doing something in water, what is the law? And so on and so forth. I think that is a major gap. And even the transition authority was not able to say that this is the basic structure of government that is expected for all counties. You can innovate, you can domesticate. That didn't happen. So that is why, therefore, you come in and you find that what there is different from another county and so forth. And finally, even in terms of the staff, we are supposed to have 30% of employees from another county. That is not happening because sometimes people say, I don't want to go into a foreign county because they might discriminate against me.
Which has been misconstrued by other counties as well, the interpretation of that particular, legal provision.
I think it simply means that you must have 30% of people who are from other parts of Kenya. And I believe if, again, Senate helps us to pass a law to say we can get transfers, inter-county transfers, so that I can borrow from Vihiga, I can give to Vihiga, to Laikipia, so that every county has that 30% because devolution at the county level is also about national cohesion, national development. I think that would be a good thing.
Okay. Ottichilo, you want to weigh in on this? But because we want to drill deeper now, we are facing drought. And remember, we've been here before. And it is a cyclical thing that happens, it seems, every year. We'll just know even next year we'll be waiting for another shoe to drop when it comes to drought and famine. And we understand also from the counties, you're given monies, as an intervention, as a prime solution to, intervene and try and help wananchi within counties as well to, mitigate the issue of food famine and food crisis as well and drought. I just wanted to know from each of you, right now that we are facing all this and looking at some of the dailies, like if you look at the Star today, this is a splash, and of course this is what the governors are saying here. If you may pick up the Star from the touch screen, they are lacking resources, and these monies are not being, of course, disbursed from the National Treasury. Counties keep developments to pay salaries because they don't have the money, and yet their workers also need money as well. So we need to know from, first of all, let's look at the food crisis that is happening right now, the drought we've had from the Devolution Secretary. But from within your various counties, what are the interventions that you've planned?
Thank you. What I want to say is that Kenya as a country, we have the best policies and the best laws regarding food security, and how we would improve agriculture. And I can tell you for free, we have some of the best experts in food security and best economists. But the problem we have as a country is implementation.
Implementation.
We are good at drafting good policies, good legislation, and after we do that, that's it. So as a county, we need to completely have a paradigm shift from the way the national government has been handling the issue of food security, so that at a county level, we identify which are our key challenges in food security and be able to focus on them. Let me look at the Vihiga, where I come from. Vihiga is one of the smallest counties in the country. And it's got, the population density is 1,200 per kilometer square. So basically we are saying we are just like a town. But the land parcels are so small. The person who has the largest land parcel is just about 0.5 of an hectare. But you find for time immemorial, these people have just been used to growing maize and beans, year in, year out. And then there is subdivision of land continuously. So you find that it is no longer tenable to practice growing of maize and beans in Vihiga County. We must change and say the best we can do is go into horticultural production, embrace biotechnology, go into growing crops that grow faster. We have the market. We have Kisumu International Airport. We have Eldoret International Airport. We have Busia, which is just next to Uganda. We have the market. We are in the hinterland. So we have to change. But as long as we stick on doing, growing maize and year in, year out, we cannot. So each country, like for example, Laikipia, is a semi-arid area.
Thank you.
They should now focus on a certain activity that it would be more effective. And so what I'm saying is that we need to look at our land use afresh.
Thank you. And of course, we understand also KBL is partnering with Vihiga County as far as sorghum is concerned, and we'll be giving seeds as well. You'll tell us more about that. Will that also be maybe change?
Because sorghum, you know, sorghum, the variety they are giving it can grow in a very small area, and the production is very high.
Okay.
And you see, after just about 3 months, you are able to harvest, and then you just cut the stalks and it ratoons back again. So that is where we should go. We should go into business, agro processing, rather than growing maize and beans.
Yeah, but I want also to know what are the immediate plans as far as we're concerned with the food crisis that we're having, and of course that will percolate to other counties as well, given that we know Wajir and other counties where, you know, arid and semi-arid are adversely affected. But in light of what is happening with the climate and you know, the global warming, what are some of the immediate interventions that is coming from the counties? We have callers who are hanging on the line, and of course they'll want to ask questions and share their contributions as well. Good morning. Let's take a caller from that is Ndiritu from Mombasa. Good morning.
Morning.
Ndiritu, good morning. Habari yako?
Mazuri sana.
Asante.
Well, it's raining in Mombasa. We are happy. And my question is, and the suggestion to the Nanyuki, that is Laikipia governor.
Yes.
My question number one is, how many industries do you have existing in Nanyuki, and what are you doing? If you want to get an EPZ into Nanyuki, what are existing factories have a problems? If you don't sort out, how can you get a new industry? A lot of people visit us and ask, what are the problems? We don't have water. We got 1.5 kilometers of road from the main road of Meru, Nanyuki, 7 kilometers from Nanyuki. You are on a Nanyuki side. To get that road, we've been fighting for 4 years. You are a new governor.
Thank you.
So if you don't meet the existing industry people, and what are their problems? How are you to get the new people into the country?
Thank you, Ndiritu.
Because whenever you go and ask the local people, hey, what is the benefit to come to Nanyuki?
Thank you, Ndiritu. Thank you. We have another caller hanging on the line. Elijah? Elijah from Vihiga. Yes, Elijah from Vihiga. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. You have a question or a contribution for our panelists?
Yes, I have a question particularly for our governor.
Yes.
I know what he has highlighted are challenges that are meeting and facing the county.
Yes.
Much as Vihiga, he has mentioned that it's a small county. I am embarrassed to say that it's least developed. And you know, when you have a small county, when you're telling people it's a small county and you don't see any development, it's embarrassing to say that on TV. Number two, particularly the transport sector, it's a huge, economy that drives the economy of the Vihiga county because of the PSVs that traverse the county.
Yes.
We don't have a parking for PSVs, and we have more than 50 police posts around Vihiga, and every other policeman is on the road soliciting money from transport people. I don't see a governor coming out the way the governor of Ndiritu County and Ndiritu would come out and defend the transport people.
All right.
We have not seen him. Like yesterday, we didn't work. Every other policeman is on the road asking for money from the PSVs, and PSVs are helping the government.
All right, thank you.
We contribute a lot.
Thank you. I think also the reception of that particular call is not very well, but I think you've got the gist of it. Yeah, thank you. We have another caller hanging on the line. Eric, good morning, Eric, from Kisii.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
Yeah, I also have a few comments.
Yeah, not few, just let's speak here, because of time, very, very few.
Yeah, are you getting me?
Yes, very clearly.
Yeah, especially what Honorable Ndiritu has said.
Yes.
Regarding the board of the public service board that is found in the office.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel, it may be having issues with them.
Yeah.
But I feel it's not really professional to go on a hair study monitoring them the way he has done. Another thing is about what Nani from Mania said about the transfer of inter-county transfer.
Yes.
I think it's something that needs to be relooked at. It's very important so that they can achieve the issue of the 30% from the outside the counties.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eric. Let's just take all those callers. And of course, also we have tweets here, one or two from our viewers. We have Kelvin Kerr saying, what are some of the affirmative approaches to encourage youth, women and persons with disabilities to wealth creation and contribution to county revenue? Our population is largely women and youth. This is what Kelvin Kerr is asking. Also, we have Kevin Mina asking, Laboso, you missed this. His Excellency Kivutha Kibwana and Ndiritu Muriithi, His Excellency Ottichilo present, of course, debating on, and I know she had a challenge as well because she was in Naivasha, and I think her meeting was also in the evening. She had promised to be here, but I think that challenge also caught up with her as well. We have Jeremiah Kariuki saying, listen to Ottichilo and Ndiritu, it is apparent there is need for clear handing over structure for the county governors. And also Jacob Abere Mtalala saying, what martial plans in place in fighting tribal appointments that is killing essence of devolution, as we see in Kiambu and Kisii that have 90% locals? And I think this is addressing to the issue of 30% that you're raising, Your Excellency, Professor. Also, concentrated is asking, what agenda does he have for Laikipia youth, Your Excellency, Ndiritu Muriithi? Then Abraham Kisa is asking, or is saying, the country should have a food reserve that can last not less than 3 years. That's the only way we can reduce dependence on food handouts and manage food-related inflation. Also, we have Jeremiah Kariuki saying, good pitching or starting point by Ottichilo, the governor of Vihiga, on the importance and the potential of devolution. However, for all the current crop of governors, they need to address the issue of corruption and the wages as well. And also, Paul Mudama is saying, I love the vision in my governor, Professor Kibwana. Keep working, sir. So let's just comment on some of the scholars and their questions. We address them, and of course, their concerns and the questions we have also on Twitter as well. Very briefly, I think we all knew. You can respond?
Yes. Thank you, Elijah, for raising that issue. Yes, I want to agree with you that our police, I don't know for what reason, they are now spending more time on the road. In fact, when I was coming to Nairobi yesterday, there were a lot of them on the road and stopping cars and making transport very difficult. So I want to agree with you that yes, this is a problem, and once I'm back in the county, I want to engage the county commissioner and the commandant of police to find out what is this that has just made all the police traffic, they are on the road, and what it appears is that there's a lot of extortion of money going on, and that is making transport very difficult. We thought that when NTSA was removed, things would improve, but it looks again, we seem to have gone back where we were. So that's an issue that will work out, and I also want to assure him that I am in the process of establishing the county police authority, which by law I am supposed to establish and be the chair. And this, once this is established, this is where again these issues are going to be raised. On the issue of balancing on the appointments, I want to agree that the law is very clear. 30% of the people appointed in each in our respective countries should be from outside the county. But the trend we are taking now is becoming tribal. In fact, it's not like in my case, it's not even tribal. We are becoming clan. So that you find people asking what our clan has not been given a job. In fact, I have been having problems with the clans.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we leave it at that? Let's hear from Professor. Professor, briefly.
Yes, in terms of affirmative approaches, I think that this is very critical. The law says in terms of business, 30% must be done by women, youth, persons with disability, and other marginalized, and 20% local people or local content. And in Makueni, we are trying really to make sure that 30% is real. And sometimes we even look to see some non-youth or who use women companies and youth companies as fronts, so that we make sure that it is really business that is being done by young people. We are also beginning a Makueni Now generation. That is young people, are youth-led, the equivalent of the National Youth Service, so that we can get youth to help us to develop a program and implement it of how they can create wealth for themselves and so on. And finally, in terms of the water agenda, because of this drought, it's very humiliating to be getting food relief all the time. People need to work for themselves and ensure their food security. And that's why, like in my county, we are encouraging farmers and working with them so that in every household, 165,000 households, you have farm ponds, so that when the rain has a problem, then they use that water for irrigation. And we are also doing minimum 2,000 sun dams. We want to do that. We are plotting where they should be, so that over the 4 years, we are able now to do that, because we can't keep on relying on rain-fed agriculture. We really must prioritize irrigation agriculture. And maybe very, very finally, the question of corruption. It depends on the structures that you have, and that's why for Makueni we are saying we want to do public contracting, so that whatever business the government does with people, it's on the table, it's open, and you can question it. And of course, if people do wrong things, we get them to the police, to the courts, and they're dealt with.
Thank you very much. And of course, also that answers the question of CEO Professor Kiprono, who's saying, good morning, I'm a procurement enthusiast. Ask the governors the plans they have for our youth, our youths getting the tenders. Thanks. And I think you've addressed that.
Thank you very much indeed. On corruption, I think I absolutely associate myself with what Professor Kibwana is saying. It's about transparency and openness. What we've been doing and will continue to do is to be able to say to the entire public, this is our procurement plan for the year or for the next 6 months. This is the business that the county is going to do, and to be able to put all of this online so that people can see what it is. And those that have been awarded also, and I agree about taking measures. We have interdicted staff who have been engaged in certifying projects that don't exist. We have blacklisted contractors who have been rogue, and in fact are also pursuing legal action against those. I want to respond to Eric and say, look, I'm sorry if you feel that it is unfair what we have said of the Public Service Board. I think that we will do well to confront our weaknesses. I do not believe that I should come on national television and pretend that these individuals are competent when there is ample evidence that they are not. So my apologies to you, Eric, but look, I have to confront the issues for what they are, and we do have a big challenge in, not with the individuals, we are talking about their competence, their ability to do what they are required to do by law. Mr. Ndiru, on the road, and I'm sorry I missed the exact road that in Nyanyuki, where his factory is. You asked the question, how many businesses do we have? We have 68,000 businesses across Laikipia, the bulk of which are in Nyanyuki. I would love to know which is the specific road. Right now, between now and June, there are 7 different roads, Rumumba, Kimathi, Kumbusho, and so on, that we are improving bitumen standards. I would love to know which is your specific road and what we can be able to do about this. On the overall, in terms of working with industry, it is my belief that we have to improve the environment in which business is working. And so I welcome you to dialogue with us so that we can be of service to you. Concentrated asked agenda for youth. The 30,000 jobs that we are talking about, the scale up of the enterprise fund is primarily targeted at young people so that they can start businesses, they can grow their businesses and be productive. On the question of affirmative action or 30% from other counties, I want to say, first of all, Laikipia is very, very cosmopolitan. 24 of Kenya's communities live in Laikipia.
Thank you.
Kikuyu, Kisii, Meru, Turkana, Samburu, Maasai, Pokot, we all live there. And it is my endeavor to ensure that all these communities are part of government.
Thank you.
And so I thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. So I'll give you a closing remarks, maybe 30 seconds. And of course, that issue that is on the front page of a Star, how are you endeavoring to actually address that? Because I think revenue collection from also the counties should be a big issue. Because now if we are relying totally on also the national government, you will be frustrated along the way. So what are some of the plans you do have as well in terms of revenue collection? But I think that's another topic for another day. Yes. If we now broach that particular subject, we will not wind up. So I just want to give you a closing remarks this morning. And of course, this is a forum that we'll be having at least every month to hear what you're doing from the counties as well. Let's begin with you, Dr. Ottichilo.
Thank you. I want to say that despite of all the challenges devolution has faced since its inception, I'm very confident devolution is going to succeed. And particularly, I'm very happy with the second generation of governors that are now in place. We are now looking at devolution in a more professional manner, and we are learning from the mistakes that our predecessors faced. So I believe if we have the right resources being channeled down from Treasury to the counties, I believe we are going to be able to implement very many projects under devolution, and the counties are going to real change in a very short time. And I also want to stress that there is a need for us to coordinate between the national government and the county government to succeed. Because what has come out is like a competition. And this is not good for the success of devolution in the country.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Professor Kibwana.
Yes, I think we have a problem in terms of what kind of money is coming to the counties. For Makueni, for example, we have only received money for 4 months, whereas this is the 8th month of the financial year. So it's very, very difficult now. Even some of the contractors are waiting to be paid, and that is becoming a major issue.
Maybe moving forward, we should come up with a bill that now will put the government also, you know, put them at the corner when it comes to actually paying, you know, paying back. Because we know from, even with the taxes, you have at a certain time frame that is given, you know, if you don't remit this particular, you're slapped with penalties. Maybe also some of the legislators should think on how the government should be put to task, come up with a bill that even within a stipulated time, the suppliers should be paid within the counties.
Within the counties. And I agree, and I think that, of course, this has been an exceptional year because of you know, the 2 elections that we had and the instability that was caused as a result. But let me make this a final point. even as we pursue electoral justice, which we should, we must also pursue the stability of the economy. Because from Makueni, there are people who are telling me that they are losing jobs. They are losing jobs because the companies where they work, that's very unstable. So I think, as Musalia Mudavadi said, we need to seriously consider that the election period is over. And we need to, prepare for 2022 and now stabilize the economy so that in turn we can stabilize these jobs, we can stabilize the economy. And I think this is, and then of course, we must all be committed, both NASA Jubilee, to electoral justice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Your Excellency.
Well, I'm encouraged that the moderate voices in, asking us all to look forward and get out of electoral mode. And I think that that's what we need to do. From a Laikipia point of view, we have a key deliverable, which is to modernize the way we do livestock. So we are pushing very hard on questions of feedlots so that we are able to improve.
Thank you.
And of course, we're working very hard on health, as we already stated here. And finally, on the question of revenue, we're working very hard to move from manual revenue collection into cashless systems so that we can tie up any loose ends and be able to collect enough local revenue for our own development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.